Hi everyone, welcome back to Mindful Actions by Beth. At the beginning of October, I set an intention to really slow down, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. I wanted to sip my coffee, savor my food, and truly appreciate each day. The goal was simple, to bring a sense of calm into my life during a really busy time. And by focusing only on the essential things and enjoying the small, beautiful moments without getting swept up into the unnecessary drama of each day. So today, I wanted to share that journey. What I learned, what worked, what didn't work, and how these changes impacted my life throughout the whole month. If you're also feeling like you're on a never-ending hamster wheel, I hope my journey of slowing down might give you a few ideas or some encouragement to try and slow down even just a little bit in your own life. And as always, if you find these mindset and self-awareness messages helpful to you, hit that subscribe button at any time. And today I'm going to ask a few questions throughout the show, and I'd love to hear about your opinion in the comments. So I started the month off with a vision. I wanted to sip my coffee and slowly look up at the sky and be fully present in all of the moments as often as possible. And that's easy enough to say, but I think we all know how life can get in the way of those intentions. For me, though, grounding myself in this intention helped me to remember to pause, especially when I felt the urge to rush from one task to the next task. It reminded me about these small mindful actions where the real beauty in life is just by experiencing things instead of living on autopilot. It was about just being there, enjoying everything. And unfortunately, if you can't tell, slowing down did not prevent me from getting sick this past week. My head feels like it's going to explode right now. But I'm pushing through. I'm getting it done. I'm doing what I got to do. And also, when I'm sick though, getting back into a little bit of a normal routine does help me feel a little bit better. So I'm just going to sip my green tea and honey here, do a little reflection and have a little chat with you, and then I'm probably going to go crash for a while. But speaking of tea, let's talk about that for a second. The first week of October really did not go as planned in the whole slowing down aspect. Let me tell you, I definitely sipped my coffee. I said that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to slow down and sip my coffee, but I did it a little bit too much. I definitely over-caffeinated that first week, and I felt completely awful and out of balance. And so that was my sign that I'd picked the right thing to focus on for this month. If you've ever had too much caffeine, you know that jittery feeling that I'm talking about, and it's not exactly conducive to slowing down. It doesn't feel good. So actually, this happens to me a few times a year when I tend to over-caffeinate a little bit, and then my body literally rejects coffee afterwards. Even the thought of coffee makes me sick to my stomach after I've over-caffeinated. So I switched to tea, which surprisingly became a little ritual in itself. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and this tea switch has been a game changer for me. I'm loving the softer, slower energy that it brings. It's so much easier on my mind and my body. So I wanted to ask all of you the same question, and I want to know if I'm kind of like out here in the middle of nowhere by myself here. But if you're normally a coffee drinker, do you ever get sick of coffee and you just want to switch to tea? I'd love to know. Add it in the comments. Let's talk about it. And so another aspect shift that happened this month that kind of forced me to slow down was when my smartwatch band broke. So my watch band broke, and at first I thought, oh, I'll just replace it. But then I was like, well, what if I just don't? What if I don't wear it? And as someone who obsesses over tracking everything from steps to heart rate all the time, this was a little bit nerve-wracking for me at first. I thought I was going to be missing out on all of this information that I'm normally attached to. But letting go of that constant tracking actually brought an incredible sense of freedom to me. And it was kind of unexpected. Not having that constant data to analyze made me feel less pressured, less like I had to perform every day and get it all done. It reminded me that I can tune in and listen to my body instead of my watch telling me that I needed to relax or my watch telling me that I needed to get up and get in some steps. My well-being isn't defined by those numbers. It's really about how I feel in the moment. And so this goes back to everything we always talk about surrounding self-awareness. Smartwatches have taught us different ways to care for our bodies, and that's great. But at the same time, they've also taught us how to ignore some of our intuition about how we're feeling. And actually, this was another perfect sign for me that I needed to slow down this month. If you've been following me for a long time, you know that I suffered from preeclampsia in pregnancy and my heart health never fully recovered from it. So it's something that I pay very, very close attention to. And when I get sick, my smartwatch stresses me out so much more than it needs to be. And I usually have to take it off. I know that when I'm sick, my body is already working overtime. There's nothing I can do about that. I need to get better, and my body is trying to protect me. So my heart rate and my blood pressure is automatically going to be higher. There's nothing I can do about it. I try to stay away from a lot of medicines because of that. And so when you're sick and your watch is telling you that you're stressed, but you also need to get up and stand up and get in all your steps, that's not healthy. It's not helping you to recover. So I already wasn't wearing my watch. And then I got sick this week. And now I'm listening to my body and not pushing myself too hard. I'm giving myself plenty of fluids without the caffeine, and I'm allowing myself to recover. It sounds like that's right in line with my intention for the month. All the pieces are coming together to help me focus, and I love it. So let's move on to another part of slowing down this month, which was reconnecting with cooking. I was in a cooking slump in August and September because I was so sick of the hot weather and the food that we tend to eat during that time. But with this cooler weather coming through, I got inspired to make comforting fall meals. My specialties are soups and stews, and I was so excited to cook foods that reflected the art of slowing down. You know, with a lot of these comfort foods, you can throw a bunch of stuff together and then let it simmer on the stove all day long, allowing the whole house to smell like fall, and it just makes me so happy. And I was able to, cook food all day long and then enjoy it in the evening. And it wasn't a rush to get dinner on the table every night. Not only that, but I also discovered the most delicious breakfast sandwich recipe. Another one of my specialties. I love breakfast sandwiches. So every morning this month, I made my sandwich, I brewed some tea, and I just sat there with meditation music on in the background. And it became this little haven for me, a pocket of peace each morning where I could fully be present and enjoy the simplicity of good food and quiet moments. Now, I'm a mom of two young kids who are in preschool and elementary school. And so finding those quiet moments it can be difficult. But I know that as somebody that's really busy, you can create the time. You can create those moments for yourself. You might have to be strategic about your schedule, but it can happen. And it might not be in the morning when you most need it. It might need to be sometime later in the afternoon, but I really think that it can happen for you. So I encourage you to try it. This morning routine has been one of my favorite parts of this whole experience, and I've loved the family dinners that we've had surrounding our favorite foods. So I'd love to hear in the comments again about some of your comfort foods that you love when the cool autumn weather comes around, and mention them in the comments, and maybe we can give each other some comfort food inspiration. So now let's move on to an intentional shift that I made happen this month to help me slow down. Normally, I love listening to podcasts or YouTube videos on all kinds of topics while I'm cleaning up dinner or prepping for the next day. But I realized that even this was a bit overwhelming, constantly thinking about self-improvement, that self-improvement overload, or taking in all this new information or trying to keep up with a conversation in a podcast. It's kind of hard. So I decided to switch things up. This month, I only listened to fiction audiobooks in the evenings. And this was a huge change on simplifying things in my mind. There's something incredibly soothing about listening to one simple story unfold, as opposed to trying to keep up with that conversation or those self-care tips. And it's funny because even with this change, I found myself more productive in the evenings. I'm not really sure if it's because I was in a calmer mindset or I was more focused on a single task, or if it just made the time pass more pleasantly. But slowing down here, it really brought a surprising boost to my energy and my focus, letting me enjoy this time with my kids and actually getting more done. My house is cleaner and more organized because I chose to slow down. I wasn't sitting there looking at all this clutter. I was tackling these different things within the house while I was listening to a book, while I was enjoying myself. And I heard the kids playing downstairs together in the basement. It's just, again, all these pieces just coming together to make an enjoyable moment. My house and my mind felt less cluttered. I noticed that by focusing on being intentional Whether it was over what I listened to, what I drank, or what I was tracking, I naturally felt more at ease. A less cluttered environment mirrored my intention to bring more peace into my life, and even my family noticed it. And the final piece of my reflection winds down to my morning stretching routine, which I have actually been keeping up with. And I've talked about this in another episode titled Creating Habits Mindfully. Go click on that link and watch that episode next. But this was a part of my morning slowdown routine, and it just takes a few moments to stretch and prepare for the day with a calm mind and a calm body. And I personally prefer stretching over journaling in the morning to help clear my mind, because my mind is, I'm a slow person to wake up. And so my mind isn't quite ready to formulate all those thoughts to write things down yet. And so I like stretching. It helps me clear my mind. And I don't know, there's also something about stretching and that feeling of lengthening my muscles and my spine after curling up in bed all night. It helps me feel like I'm getting a true fresh start. And it was another way of grounding myself, a small but powerful act that reminded me to start the day with ease rather than rushing around constantly. So for your mindful action this week, I want you to pick something that sounds good to you to help you to slow down. Just try it for a week. It is a new month, so you could try it for a whole new month, but I want you to just start with a week. Pick something that will help you slow down. And as a real quick recap, the things that I chose were switching from coffee to tea, taking off my smartwatch, cooking comfort foods, listening to audiobooks instead of podcasts or YouTube, and doing my morning stretches. So what type of thing are you going to pick to help you slow down? So I loved this intention for October. I'm tempted to continue it on to in November, because we all know November is going to be a busy month too. But we'll see. I'll see what my intention ends up being for this month. But now that we are in this new month, I'm feeling more grateful than ever for the simple beauty of slowing down. I'm embracing how life is not about a radical, immediate life change that we have to do right away. It's about making those small choices each day to be a bit more intentional, to pause and to breathe. I'm so glad I got to share this journey with you, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe I'll start doing a monthly recap on my intention. We'll see. I don't know. And I hope that maybe it's inspired you a little bit to find different ways to slow down in your own life. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the community here at Mindful Actions by Beth. And before we go check out the comments and share stories and insights on what slowing down means to you. See you next week. Be mindful, take care of yourself, and practice slowing down.